Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm the Omni viewer, and I saw something weird today. I genuinely do not know what it was. Um, and I'm making this video to basically sort of have a record of it. Today, when I say today, of course, I mean it is February 20th of 2024, and I wasn't expecting to see anything out of the ordinary today. I mean, whoever does expect to see something out of the ordinary, but, well, I did. So, before I get into this, I want to make something clear. I want to make a couple things clear, actually. First of all, I'm not the sort of person who frequently has experiences witnessing something unknown or otherworldly. I have seen things throughout my life that you could describe as UFOs because they are objects flying through the air and not knowing what they are unidentified. Does that mean I saw alien spaceships with Alpha Centauri who were looking to abduct me? No, not necessarily. I mean, the things I've seen have come in a wide variety. All I can tell you is that I don't know what they were. Some of them I saw with people who know their aviation, and they don't know what those things were either. But those were very spaced out. Most of the time, I'm just going about my everyday life, and nothing odd really ever seems to happen. Something else I want to point out is that the neighborhood I live in has a wide variety of birds in it. This will be significant, you'll find out why. The variety of birds really does run the gamut from ruby-throated hummingbirds all the way up to bald eagles. So we've got the tiny, we've got the huge, and everything in between. Crows, cardinals, doves, chickadees, blue jays, sparrows, you name it. So they're frequently seen around here. It's not that I get used to them, of course. Every time I look up and I happen to see one of the eagles flying by, it's always an amazing sight because eagles are very majestic birds. But I've seen all of them enough times that I know what they look like. And even if they surprise me, I'm not the sort of person who's going to have to take 5 or 6 seconds to suddenly process what I'm seeing because I wasn't expecting it. I look up and I will instantly recognize, oh, that's the shape of an eagle, whether it's 20 feet above me or 200 feet above me. Now, I'm bringing all of this up to provide you with at least some context here. I'm not the sort of person who goes around crying UFO or monster or anything just at random, because I don't really experience those sort of things all that frequently. I have an active interest in those things, yes. I take the subject seriously and believe that they are worth investigating, yes. But I myself don't really have that many experiences. And I also know a bird when I see it. That brings me to what I saw today, which at first I did think was a bird, but I do not think it was. Well, or they were, actually, because there were more than one of these. All right, so it's around 5:30, and the sun is starting to stay out a little bit longer this time of year, so even though it is setting, it's still up high enough that you could still say it's daylight. There's not really any clouds in the sky, but the sky is like turning that paler shade of blue. And I'm bringing the dog outside to do her business. We walk over to the corner of the yard where there's a telephone pole, so that can give me some kind of an estimate of height. As she's sniffing around on one of the areas where the snow is melting, I'm looking around, keeping my eye out for cars, because, always got to be safe. And a hint of movement accompanied by a sound, and I'll describe the sound a little bit later, draws my attention upward. And that's not uncommon. Like I said, see a lot of birds around here. Usually it's because I detect just the slightest hint of movement, or I hear a sound of a bird going overhead, or sometimes I just feel like looking up and, oh look, there's a bird. So so far nothing has actually happened that's unusual. But then I see these things, 4 of them, flying in a very tight formation, sailing right above my head. Now, I say right above, but like, thanks to the telephone pole, which they were above as well, I would estimate that they were maybe 30 feet above me at the minimum. They might have been a little bit higher, but that's my guess. The thing is, they were close enough that I could see them pretty clearly. So they just passed overhead, and it lasted maybe 5-6 seconds tops. And in that 5 or 6 seconds, my brain went through all kinds of cycling to figure out what they were. This is the drawing I made when I got back inside. I'm going to leave this up here so you can get an idea of what I saw. This is a very rough idea, mind you. I wasn't trying to be a refined artist when putting this together. I just wanted to get the basic idea down on paper. So here's the image. They were flying in this formation, and this is the shape they were. Now, my first thought when I saw them was that they must be Canada geese, because it's getting to be that time of year where the geese are flying back along their migratory routes, and sometimes they fly low, sometimes they fly high. They do fly in a V formation, so you're used to that sort of thing. I see them in the spring, in the fall, so that was my first thought. But I very quickly realized they weren't the right shape, because geese have the long neck and the head that sticks out front. So my next thought was, are they ducks? Well, wait a minute, they don't have necks and heads at all. In fact, they're just rectangles. I don't see a head, I don't see a tail, and their wings are stretched out, and they look almost trapezoidal, or perhaps more accurately, like triangles with the ends cut off. But point is, there are very hard lines. I can't see anything that would make them look like a typical organic bird. They don't have the right shapes for that. They're passing right above me, and the sound finally registers. I said there was a sound. The only thing I can compare that sound to is the squeaking noise that a metal hinge makes. You know the sound. My voice is too deep. I can't accurately imitate it. But that noise, if you've heard it, you know what I'm talking about. And that seemed to be in time with the flapping of their wings, which were just moving up and down. If you see a bird flap its wings, it's not just an up and down motion. It is never just an up and down motion. A bird, especially a larger bird, will have their wings kind of swoop forward and back. They kind of make a circle when they're flapping. And of course their wings will fold and extend as needed. But these things, the wings were just moving up and down. Very stiff, not moving backward or forward or anything. And only in like a very short, maybe 15-degree arc. It was an unnatural movement for wing flapping. It's what a machine would do if it was flapping its wings, but didn't actually need to flap its wings in order to fly. As they move a little bit past me and I can see them at more of an angle, I also realize they're oddly flat. There's no bulbousness to the bodies. Those rectangles are just flat rectangles. The trapezoid triangle wings are just flat wings. And the way the sun is catching them, they look metallic. And the color is a very pale color. Something like gold, but also something like copper. I can't quite place it. But by the time I've cycled through all of this, ruled out the most likely candidates, and finally been able to wonder, what the heck are these things? They've disappeared behind some trees. There was no way I would have been able to get my phone out in time to grab a picture or a video or something. And I'm just left standing there scratching my head, wondering what these were. Now, I did stay out with the dog for a little bit longer after that, and the whole time I'm racking my brain. I'm trying to commit these things to memory and compare them to every sort of flying creature or device that I know, and they're not lining up with anything. Some smaller birds happen to land in one of the trees in the front yard, and they make that sort of high-pitched, tittering, tweeting noise that birds are wont to make. And as I'm listening to that, I confirm that that is not the sound I heard these flying things make. It was definitely more of a squeaking, rhythmic hinge sound. So I finally get back in, I drew that rough image, made my estimates, and I still don't know. Now, I eventually did figure out something that I could draw a comparison to. And I know that by saying this, some people are going to latch onto that and ignore everything else I have to say because they think that will be the answer. So hear me out before you actually jump to conclusions. The closest thing I can compare them to are the flying robots from Sky Captain and the World of Tomorrow. With the short bodies, the wings that are the same width as those bodies, but they taper towards the end, and the wings move up and down kind of in that same motion. Now, I say that's the closest thing I can compare them to. They are not an exact match. And before you go around thinking that the answer must be that I had just watched the movie and therefore those things were fresh in my brain, so when I looked up and wasn't expecting to see anything, my wires got crossed and I mistook birds for flying robots, no. I have not actually watched that movie recently. I think it's been a couple years, in fact. And it's not a movie that takes up my thoughts most of the time. I like it, don't get me wrong, it's a good movie. But I'm not constantly thinking about it. So it wouldn't have been fresh in my mind. It's not like one of those cryptid sightings where a person would say that when they saw the thing, they'd also just seen some kind of movie that had a similar looking creature in it, which I don't really buy into that answer anyway, but that's a whole other discussion. Point is, I do not believe it applies to me here because I haven't seen that movie recently. And I'm not the sort of person who hallucinates. Not naturally, not because I'm on any medications. I'm not actually taking any medications, in fact. So certainly nothing that would have hallucinatory side effects. Nor am I the sort, as said, who sees something and my mind immediately goes to the most extreme conclusion of what it could be. That's not the kind of person I am. All of that is to say that if I claim to have seen something weird, that's because I saw something weird. So I don't know what these things were. They don't seem to be animals. I think they must be artificial because, like I said, metallic, hard edges, unnatural shape, no recognizable organic features. But I've never seen any flying thing like that. Again, outside of one very specific science fiction movie. They can't be drones because drones don't have wings that flap. The recreational ones don't anyway. They have rotors. Military drones have wings, but they're short and they're static and they are very tiny compared to the rest of the oblong body. And of course, they don't fly in that type of formation so low over a neighborhood. So, yeah, I'm stumped here. Of course, I was the only person out at the time, so I couldn't turn to someone else and say, hey, did you see those things? And that's always the way of it, right? The eyewitness is alone and has to kind of rely on his own integrity for people to believe him because he doesn't have anyone else to necessarily confirm what he saw. And of course, I've got the added bonus that I am a writer. I write a lot of fantasy and science fiction, and I watch a lot of movies about that sort of thing and so on. So it could be that some people will think I'm making this up as some kind of a promotion for whatever my next book is or something. Well, I can tell you for right now, next book I'm going to be publishing has nothing to do with stuff like this. And if I were to do something like that, if I were to make some kind of a fake video about a strange paranormal sighting, I would be far more dramatic about it. In fact, I was far more dramatic about it when I did the trailer for Hoofprints and Lace. For that, I did a fake found footage Jersey Devil sighting. And I was pretty clear that it wasn't real. It was a book trailer. So that would be the way I would fake this sort of thing. In fact, the very fact that I don't have footage of it also speaks to that, because I'm running a YouTube channel. If I really wanted to fake something, I would actually have something to show you beyond a simple drawing I made just as I was trying to get down what I was what I remembered. So, you can believe me or not, but I am telling the truth. And I made this video because I wanted to get the record out there. Now, is it possible that there is something out there like, I don't know, a children's toy or a new kind of drone or something that does match this description that I'm just unaware of? Maybe. Is it also possible that maybe these were just normal birds that I saw in a weird way? I, for one, don't believe that, but I suppose you can't rule it out 100%. However, I am 99% convinced that's not what happened. No, all I can tell you is I saw something weird today, and whatever it was, well, it's going to have me wondering for a while. And I just wanted to have a record of it, so that's been accomplished at least. Yeah, I really don't know. I am stumped. But sometimes there are just mysterious things out there. Until such time as we meet again, this is the Omni viewer signing off.